maybe give me an estimate of how long we're going to actually wait? Because like I said, I'm on the road and I'm not quite sure exactly what my service is going to be.
We're going to start at 12. Yeah, we're going to start at 12:00, Carlos. That's the plan at this point. In about 4 minutes.
Okay, I guess I just got the message that it was from 12:45 to, 11:45 to 12:45. So I didn't know exactly what the start time was. So my fault. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh,
At this time, we will convene our meeting, our special board meeting for discussion and approval of various budget-related items. Our first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. If there could be a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there a second to that motion?
second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, I'd ask all who wish to approve of the agenda as presented to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Oops. And any abstentions? Okay, item C, we are considering the approval of the amended fiscal year 2019-2020 district budget. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second of that motion?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion of this motion?
Madam Chair, I would be happy to speak to it if you would like.
Yeah, please do so.
What I have here, and I'm happy to walk through and do a screen share if you would like, or I can simply walk through what I'm requesting be amended or a function of what we've talked about in the past, and the changes that occurred in regards to the coronavirus and COVID-19 shutdown that the district had. Do you want me to do a screen share, or does everyone have their document in front of them?
Carlos, would it be helpful for you to have a screen share?
No, not while I'm driving. Thank you.
Oh, okay. You're driving. I did not realize that. Go ahead then, Mrs. Gates, please.
What I have in the general fund, there is no increase to the general fund. I'm simply requesting that we decrease elementary instruction, junior high instruction, special ed instruction, and tuition for students with disabilities, and then go down and increase technology and the fund transfer. The fund transfer is going to lunch fund. Under the special revenue fund, that is one that I am asking that it be increased. This is a function of the ability to carry over funds from grant year, from one grant year to the next. So it's necessary to increase that fund by $350,000. Also being able to decrease instruction and increase instructional support. And then towards the end, food service, we've had conversations about food service, but it is necessary to increase that by $175,000. That being partially a result of the transfer from general fund, and then we're also using cash reserves that were held in food service to accommodate that increase in expenses. And then lastly, the BOCES fund. That is the fund where we pay for dual and concurrent enrollment. And that one is necessary to increase that by $100,000. That's the usage of cash reserves. The funds stay there as we receive them from EWC BOCES. And this year we had more expenditures than what we actually received this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. King on the items that she delineated?
So some of this is just because they're allowing more carryover now on some of these funds.
The funds, Mark, that are increased are a function of cash reserves from prior years needing to fund some expenditures, that being food service and BOCES. General fund is simply moving the budget from categories where the funds weren't used and expenditures such as the technology purchases that were approved earlier and the food service transfer that was approved earlier.
So I guess I'm fine with the general fund. I guess my question on the food service, I guess, for example, is, I don't know, maybe I'm not thinking of this right, but because of what happened with COVID, we had some additional stuff happen. So your budget to actual is going to reflect that. Why the need to adjust the budget to explain that?
Okay, when you look at the food service fund, we have cash sitting in the food service fund, which is a function of sales that parents have purchased lunches for kids that they haven't yet eaten, and that's sitting in there in a cash account.
Okay.
We were not charging for any meals when COVID started on March 17th.
Okay.
We have money sitting in cash, and we are not charging anyone for a meal. But our expenses went up based upon the fact that we were continuing to pay all salary and benefits for all food service employees. However, not all food service employees were capable of working. They either had childcare issues or they were medically challenged and encouraged not to work, as was the case with all other classifications of employees. So in turn, we are receiving revenue from the state, which was not as much revenue as what we would normally receive on a reimbursement basis. And then we're paying additional people to help provide those meals to the students that we've been doing since March. So in doing that, our budget was not large enough to sustain that.
Okay, so for that purpose, then we need to increase the budget so it's more reflective of what we're required to show then?
More, in order for the budget to be reflective of what actually is happening in the food service fund. Our expenses have gone up in food service, and our revenues have gone down. However, with our food service transfer and with the cash held in that area, we're able to sustain the operation.
Yeah.
Food service operates as its own operational entity. It's not commingled in any way with any of the other operations of the district.
Right. I guess I'm having a hard time getting wrapped around my head why I understand the transfer over, I guess. My problem is why we adjusted the expenditure budget line item, adjusting the budget. So then when we compare budget to actual, yeah, it's going to show that we're more in line with expenses, but we also could have just said, left it alone and just explained why we were off. Is there some sort of function that requires us to do this so we're more in line, or is this just because of COVID-19 and we had all this stuff happen, so we just need to bump up our budget for essentially stuff that's already happened?
Mark, that's a very valid question, in that we are statutorily required that as a district, we cannot, or we are not to overspend our budget.
Okay.
And we are obligated to ensure that we have the budget to support our expenditures. If we don't make this notation and adjust the budget today, then that's going to be an audit finding, and December the auditors present the audit report to you.
That's the piece I was missing, was there's a requirement that we don't overspend.
Correct.
Thank you.
And consequently, this is a annual process, because it's not efficient to do this for every small expenditure that may happen.
Right. It just, because of what happened with COVID, it just seems to be more expanded. But that answers my questions. Thank you.
Any more questions or concerns? All right, we can proceed for a vote on item C. If you would like to approve the amended FY 2019-2020 budget as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? And we have approved that amended budget. Item number D is in Delta. We are considering the approval of final bills for the 2019-2020 fiscal year end. Could we have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion of this about this approval? All right, those who wish to approve of paying these final bills, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? And we have approved the payment of the final bills, Mrs. Kate. So please go out and celebrate with a big check writing party.
Thank you.
Item F, we are considering the approval of a contract with Follett for the 2020-21 school year. Is there a motion to do so?
So
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
second.
Thank you, Mark. Is there any discussion of this item? Those who wish to approve contracting with Follett with the Destiny Library Management System, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? So we have approved of that contract. Item F, we're considering the approval of a contract with SHI for District Microsoft licensing renewal. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of this item? Hearing none, I'd ask all who approve of contracting with SHI, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? We have approved of that contract. Item G, we are considering the approval of a contract with Instructure for Canvas for online learning. Could we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion of this item? Hearing none, I'd ask all members who wish to approve of the contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? We have unanimously approved of this contract. Item H, we are considering the approval of a new job position for library media assistant. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
You? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
May I speak to
Please,
this item?
please do so.
So in our restructuring within the district and looking for cost saving ways to conduct business, but then also with the realization that with us going down to one library and media specialist and what the difference between a library and media clerk job description and what we will be expecting a library media assistant to do were pretty drastic. And the differences there between a library and media clerk were outlined in the fact that a clerk would have an immediate library specialist or certified in that same building with them or in close proximity. A library and media specialist is going to be much more independent and would not necessarily have the daily check-ins with a library media library media assistant, would not have the daily check-ins with the library media specialist. It may have to act independently significantly more time than our current clerk would be. And so there's a significant requirement and responsibility to run the library with oversight from the library media specialist. And as we were visiting with principals and Marcy, and as we kind of took upon us to take a look at what would be comparable as we took a look at the responsibilities, we designed then the library media assistant position. And we're hoping to have that filled in Southeast and Legal Fort Laramie, and also at Trail and Lincoln, shared position there. So that is our plan.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Kramer or discussion about this item? Hearing none, I'd ask those who wish to approve of this new job position to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? And that item was unanimously approved. Is there any further business to come before the board today? Hearing none, I declare our meeting adjourned at 12:18 p.m. Thank you, folks, for tuning in.